Alright, now it's time to sculpt what's called the, let's do this in white, the semi-spinalis capitis. Okay, make sure you write this down. I hope you can see my spelling, but the semi-spinalis capitis. Okay, where is this muscle originating? Where is it inserting? Let's look at just the skeleton. So actually I'm going to rotate this around. Polyframe is off. Solo mode. And let's look at a slight 3/4 with perspective. Yeah, about like that. Okay, so again, just so we're clear, semi-spinalis capitis. Alright, where is this originating? Well, first let's find C7. So where's C7? Probably we're going to say C7's about here. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? And then we're going to go all the way from 7, 6, 5, 4, so right here. And not the spinous process, but this transverse process. So these guys along the side. So again, the origin, let me just write this down over here. The origin is going to be the transverse process of C4 through thoracic 6 coming down. So now we're going to go thoracic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And maybe 7. So it's 6 or 7 down from C7. Okay, remember C7 is our landmark for so much. So you can go T7 down, or T26 or 27. Okay, either one of those is going to work all right. And now where is it inserting? Okay, where it's inserting is going to be in between the inferior nuchal line and the superior nuchal line. Okay, so it's going to be inserting into the back of the head, and let's just say above the inferior nuchal line. And you'll know the nuchal line if you've had a kid recently or somebody you know has a kid. This is one of the ways that they test whether or not the kid could have, the child could have autism, be autistic, or have some other aspect to them. So they'll look inside of a, I think, I can't remember the scan right now, but they'll look at the scan and they'll actually measure the nuchal line to see whether or not the child is likely to or not. So keep in mind that nuchal line, you know, it's just kind of an interesting little tidbit. I just had that with my daughter some 7 months ago. Alright, so now where and what is the shape of this muscle? Because it's important for you to be aware of the shape. Okay, remember, it is originating along the transverse process. So that means these guys out here. Okay, and you might think that if it originates down here, transverse process to C7, that it would just go in a straight line up, right? And if you looked at a human being from the side, and judging since you have managed to work through our shopping cart on our site, you probably have. You know that most people's heads don't go, their necks aren't like that. So what you want to do is make sure that this is conforming to the spine. Okay? You want to make sure it conforms to the spine up until you get to about C7. When you get to about C7, that starts to change, and you start to pull away from the spine and starts to form its own kind of shape. So you can feel this yourself if you just take your hands and you reach to the back of your head, to your skull, and then you just take your hands down to your neck. Okay, right where the base of your skull is, you'll notice that you actually can't feel the spine unless you push in to where it's actually kind of, not kind of, but it is uncomfortable. It makes me a little queasy. Further down, somewhere where I might say you're at about C5, that's when you can start to feel the cervical vertebrae. C7 you can feel, C6 you can feel, C5 you can feel, C4 drops off the map. Okay, that just plunges in, and if you have to dig into that, it kind of hurts a little. So right around there between C5 and 4 is where the shape is going to start to change. Oof, just gave myself a headache, I think. So keep that in mind. Okay, that's going to be really important to this because the muscles are going to flow naturally. Alright, so make sure you've written all this down, pause the screen before we go forward and start to create this. Okay, now how am I going to add that muscle? Best thing to do is to append something, anything, probably a sphere 3D. Select the sphere. It's automatically converted into a poly mesh, by the way, and it's put right at the center. So what I'm going to do is just move this up, scale it down, make sure symmetry is on when I scale it so it doesn't scale to one side. Okay, and this is just the foundation for us. So transparency, move. Okay, just gonna get this off somewhere close. So 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we're gonna start down here at that transverse process. There we go. So I'm just embedding this basic shape somewhere where I can use curved lines or curved tube to some effect. I do want to probably hide this scapula, hide the humerus. You can hide the other scapula, hide the clavicle. Don't really need them. You could hide the spine. I'm sorry, not spine, but the ribs if you've got them as this groups like I do. That's one thing, just so we can focus in on that spine. You might have done your ribs several different ways, but there we go. Okay, so now we're clean and clear. Let's select this guy. Let's even name it. So semi-spine, oops, wrong one. Spinalis, and then dash capitis. Alright. Geometry. Dynamesh. Curved tube. Make sure that stroke is not set as line. And now, I constantly forget this. Somewhere around right here. There you go. Lower the draw size. Okay. Don't need to adjust anything more than that. That's fairly okay, although what you could do is come in and take the inside a little bit like that. Okay. Now, well, I'm not happy. Oops, do not adjust your draw size. But I want to pull this out a little bit away from the spine. So C7, C6, alright, there we go. Larger draw size to affect a larger shape. Okay, and I want to get that closer to the edge, because that's the first one. So the first one doesn't have to conform to the transverse process anymore. It's starting to move away from that. Okay, so pretty cool thing that we're going to do. Do we keep groups on? I'm not sure. Let's keep group on. Okay, let's go into stroke. I'm going to snapshot that. And then with the snapshot one, I'm going to move the edge of it up a little bit like that, and then move this side out a little bit. Okay, let's turn this off, and you'll start to see what's going to happen. We're going to start to spread this out, start to take up a little bit more room as we move down there. Now we've got a lot. In fact, I've got how many? 6 and 4. I got 10. So I need to make sure that this division of space is going to work. You know, don't get too greedy. Snapshot, pull that off to the side, pull it up, might need to adjust. Oh wow, see, did it again. Might need to adjust this to make it conform a little better. Alright, snapshot it. Move it up. Move it out. There you go. So that's 4. Snapshot. Move that one out. And up. And on and on and on we go. This is so cool that you can do this, that it's this easy to do actually. That's just one of the things I find kind of stunning, is just how simple that is to do. Okay, I'll fix the rest of those later. Snapshot. Okay. Alright. So that's close. We got 5. Let's go one more. Pull it in. And I'm not going to add it anymore to the side. Let's look at this a little bit from the side though. I do want to make sure it's dominant. So I'm going to lower my draw size and just out from the center like that. Yeah. Okay, now the other advantage, we've got group on, so I'm going to just instantly merge all of these, or I don't even have to merge, convert them into Dynamesh yet. I can keep them like they are, and since they're all separate in their groups, I just come in here, let's delete these curves, and I can treat each one of these separately. So one of the ways you do that, let's just go into Move Brush, you go Auto Masking, Mask by Polygroup, or you just Control-click to mask, Control-click to invert the mask, and then you work from there. So I tend to like the masking approach, and what I'm doing right now is just making these ones that are closer to the neck more dominant. Gets a little hard to see with all these colors. And clear the mask, select this one, Control Shift click, Control click. And we've got to bring him forward and pull him back. About like that. Okay, could have been more careful with my curve, but then I was snapshotting. So up to you now that you've seen me do this. Optimize your own workflows. Now, if I'm not going to merge these guys, it is questionable how much this energy is worth. Okay, probably at this point I would stop. if I was going to merge them. Because watch what happens when I remesh and group is off. You know, very simple, right? So let's redo that, turn Dynamesh off. Let's set our resolution and go back into Dynamesh. That's a little better. Turn it off, set that a little lower, and turn it off, lower, back in. Let's undo. Okay. I'm going to set that back to 200. Dynamesh is off, setting it back on. Alright. That's going to work out alright for me because I can come in and use Snakehook, or better yet, move with the AccuCurve on, and that'll give me the points I need. Just come in and connect everything. Did accidentally merge with this piece here, so not too bad of a problem. Let me see if I can show you how to solve that. So I'm going to get rid of that chunk. Okay, let's see. Is that it? Anything else left of it? Yeah. Okay, so now we've got some gaping holes. Control, Shift, click, and drag. It's not going to do it without deleting that stuff, so delete hidden, Control, click, and drag. Okay, so we deleted hidden. This little tiny button right down here. Okay, while it was in Dynamesh, it was fine, it didn't care. So we deleted hidden, and then we asked it to remesh it. And so by remeshing it, it closed the holes. So that was kind of nice, simple way to get rid of that extra little piece, which we didn't really want at the end of the day. Okay, so this is going to be one of the muscles we need to focus on. Now we got more. Now I spent a little bit of extra time on that, and you know, it's questionable how much it's worth it. The next ones I'll speed up, but I wanted you to see the curved tubes workflow there and the snapshot option. So we'll see if we can speed that up next time. Hey there, our next muscle to look at. Let's just hide the semispinalis capitis for a moment. And this next muscle is really cool. It's a good thing to know when you're giving a neck massage. The levitator scapulae. So, levitator scapulae with that AE at the end. Sorry, and an A, levitator scapulae. Alright, now where is this originating? Where is it inserting? It's going to originate along the cervical spine, and it's originating along the transverse process, just like the semispinalis capitis. So it's going to be originating along the transverse process of the first 4 cervical vertebrae. So we're talking right here. And then it's going to be inserting into the scapula. So we need to make sure the scapula is visible there. So let's just go back in and let's invert that. Let's show the clavicles. Alright, there we go. Alright, so we're going to be inserting along 1, 2, 3, 4, originating along 1, 2, 3, 4 of the cervical, and we're going to be inserting along this blade of the scapula right there, kind of on the inside of that. And it's going to be pulling from a side view pretty much straight in. You can get that a little bit angled if you want. But the primary function of that is really, you know, you're just kind of going from A to B. It's pretty linear. And in fact, the real position, let's go from this direction. The exact orientation to kind of keep in mind is that the bottom of this, let's say if our origin is this whole sheet here, the bottom of this is going to be connecting to that first transverse process, whereas 4 is connecting to the top. So we're going to get a bit of this kind of spiraling pattern happening in there. So knowing that, it's best that we build it with that in mind. That way when we add in all the form, it all kind of fits and makes sense. So best way to go about creating this, probably our usual process of duplicating. Let's rename it. Where'd it go? Rename. And then levitator dash scapulae AE. Okay? And in terms of this muscle, I'm going to shrink it. How am I going to shrink it? Let's turn the icon off for that one. And then just move it off to the sides here. Just need something where the curve can grab onto. Alright, there we go. Now Dynamesh with group on, curve tube, and again, as I said, the first point, and in fact let's do this as a line. So stroke, as line, bend off. Bottom is connecting to that first transverse process. Okay, lower the draw size. Side view, let's get them connected. Pull it in. You could go into stroke and use size as something, and then this way you get a different size. You can adjust the curve fall off where it always has a certain size, so it just introduces a little bit of a bend to it. You just got to be careful, you know, you always come back and click the point that you want to be affected. Okay, so that's looking good enough for now. Now let's draw another one. So I'm going to delete that curve just so it's not in my way and come into the second. And of course, position it. And then set that middle point as the place for rotation. Yeah, like that. Not rotation, but size. I can pull that back. I just got to come back in and connect. Okay, delete the curve. Draw again. This time maybe we can just come from here to here. Still not doing it. Alright. Let's move that in a little bit more. Alright, delete the curve and go again. There you go. Alright, now in this case, I'm going to clear the mask, delete the curves. I'm going to go into the move brush and I'm going to say activate. Let's turn AccuCurve off. And I'm going to activate mask by polygroups. They're already grouped and I just want to get a little twist in there. And I'm going to kind of leave it up to you whether or not you want to combine these guys or not. In my particular case, I don't think I really want to. I think I kind of want to leave them separate. And I'm even going to come into the inflate brush and just inflate them kind of separately. So mask by polygroup is still working. And that means it's going to mask that first point I click, right? Okay, let's get these guys connecting, sharing an edge down there a little bit. Okay. Might need to use H polish, and let's definitely get rid of that floater, that piece that we're going to delete. Okay. H polish brush is on, but I need to turn mask by poly group off to get the effect I want now. So now I'm just going to kind of flatten them all together. It's kind of fine with me. I kind of like that. Cool. Lends a nice look as well. So let's look at this with our semi-spinalis capitis, and let's see if we can understand, you know, the relationship of these guys a little bit, right? Because they're intersecting each other. So who's on first, who's on second? How are they going to connect or relate to each other? So the levitator scapulae is going to wrap around this one. So keep it connected to the transverse process, but wrap around. Also, you might want to come into the semi-spinalis, and you might want to just get that one to get a little bit more curve to it, so it has to wrap less. You'll find the balance. In this case, really needed to move that semi-spinalis. There we go. Let's keep shaping these. I'm going to move over to the spinalis, semi-spinalis, and start to move this over. I think I just moved it back. Gotta move it over a little bit. Transverse process of our spines actually could be moved out if they were closer to more naturalistic spines. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now, while at the same time kind of inflating this influence along the medial border inside. We're going to use that trick of H polish to start to flatten some things. Okay, and as we get closer, like let's say a cross section like this, which you can see in Elliot Goldfinger's book, The Human Anatomy for the Artist, the shape of these guys are going to be much closer to each other than I have them right now. And they're just going to butt up against each other. That's going to be kind of the key thing that we want to make sure exists. They just butt up against each other. A little bit of overlap as you get up here. So how do we get that? We're going to just come in. Let's go levitator scapulae. Let's inflate a little on the inside. And then that can de-inflate or use H polish and start to trim some of that back, both from this kind of side view where it's getting a little out of control. See how this is coming in, you know, I've lost the sense of form. It's fine. I'm gonna now come back in and re-establish the clarity of that line, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. Alright, make those guys work closer to each other. Now there is a lot of art to this. There's a lot of, you're having to kind of feed them together, start to work on the aesthetic of it, and once we're looking at all the other muscles, it's likely to all get adjusted again, all over again. It's just the way it goes, so don't get committed to anything. Okay, and move that more along the spine. Okay, that's going to be fine by me. Don't need to remesh that. Don't need to remesh this one. And we're going to be in okay shape. So that's the levitator scapulae. Alright, and now the neck the next neck muscle that we need to look at is going to be right between the semi-spinalis capitis and the levitator scapulae. It's going to fit right in between there and really help us get a good clean sense of form.